I want to explore the subject of people having power over, I want to say you, but I also want to speak in the I. So people having power over me and what it means to hold that as a belief in my consciousness. Certainly in holistic work, religion, or shamanism, there is something magical about believing in magic. And I know in certain cultures, in certain forms of shamanism as well, that black magic exists as a reality, as a belief, as this is possible. So let's discuss the idea that black magic exists and it's possible for somebody else to do black magic on you, on me, and for me to be affected by it. And if I hold that in my consciousness as a belief, then for me, I'm almost condemning myself even before it's happened. Does that make sense? I love exploring power of the mind, and it's almost like all of my beliefs hold space for my reality. So everything I believe to be true in my consciousness is like the walls or the foundation of my existence, of my reality, because I've decided this is true, therefore it exists. This concept is true, therefore I navigate around it because I believe that to be so. And it's also what is interesting about almost psychedelics and expanding one's consciousness through altered states, because it often challenges beliefs that are staked in the ground. So the walls of one's consciousness being, but this is what I learned, this is what I trust, this is what I believe to be true, therefore the illusion of safety. I'm safe because I feel like I know this. These are the pillars of my reality. I decided that I know that. I live inside of this in a very safe container. And if someone challenges or pulls one of those rods out, and that you suddenly then go, oh, maybe that wasn't true, that the person's reality, belief system, or almost their container in which they live no longer exists. And it can be a very challenging place to find oneself, that suddenly the consciousness has expanded, the walls of the belief system have expanded to somewhere else. And there's a possibility of, maybe this isn't so, maybe this isn't so, maybe this isn't so. Wow. Everything is now different and changed, and a feeling of, because the room has changed, the container has changed, I'm no longer safe because I have no idea how to navigate this new place of what is real, what is not real. And I love this subject and this belief system, because for me, this is almost what self-development is about. And you have a coach or a healer or a shamanic practitioner to carefully give different options of what is so. And it's almost like navigating that together. Let's have a look at this one. Let's see, and very carefully unpack it without totally eradicating all of the walls, and doing it in a very radical way that each one is sort of, what's here? You can choose to keep it as a belief system. That's absolutely fine, because that will feel safer. But what happens if you unstake it and just have a look? Then you can decide for yourself whether you're wanting to put it back or not. And one of these things is people have power over me the belief that black magic exists and people are able to do things to me. Because for me to hold that belief in my system is, I feel unsafe, and I feel it's very much comes from the victim corner of my archetype. So each of us would have a victim archetype, a victim / an empowerment. You can't have an empowered being, an empowered consciousness without there being the victim. So just wanting to put that into context, that having a victim is not bad or wrong or you need to get away from it. It is very much an archetype to learn from, because you can't have empowerment without the victim. So having my victim archetype stake a thing in the ground says, black magic has been done to me. That is why I am ill and sick. So whoever has done it has the power to leave it as it is or not. And to me, that's very much one part of the victim empowerment dynamic, is this has been done to me. I am completely powerless to whoever has done that. They have the power to revoke it or not, should they choose to. And that is one state. Somebody has that kind of power over me to do such a thing. And I can choose to believe that and not to move from that. And that is so, and that is my reality. And then I stay exactly where I am. Or I can look at that belief system and say, okay, is everything absolute? Are there exceptions to the rule? So even if this is my belief, what about the one exception where actually they perhaps don't have all the power? Maybe there is some wiggle room for me to claim my power back. How do I alter what is done to me? Because it's been doing to me, surely I have 50% responsibility, and maybe I could change what has been done as a potential. Is everything absolute? No, there are exceptions to every rule. So even if that was my blanket belief, perhaps there is that 1% where that's not so. That exception to the rule, that nuance, that place where, what about the divine dichotomy where two opposing truths can exist in the same space? So black magic being somebody else is controlling me, and the opposite also being true, that I could also control the magic, or I also have the power to change whatever has been done. And both of those things existing in the same space. The God dynamic. God is everywhere and God is nowhere. Because for God to be everywhere, therefore God has to be nowhere, because God can't be in a specific place, otherwise God wouldn't be everywhere. Two opposing truths existing in the same space. So just these questions start to add a little bit of interesting consciousness to a dynamic or a belief. Yes? So even if I did hold that as true, there is still but what if? Can we see maybe this as well? What about this? Because I feel sometimes in the healing world, too much power is given over to perhaps a shaman or a healer or somebody else that is regarded as, let's say, powerful, and that maybe the belief is, but they've done something to me, therefore I can't do anything about that. Somebody comes to me and says, but black magic was done on me and you need to break that because I don't have the power to do it. And there's part of me that wants to then invite this conversation, because if I just did it for them, then I'm playing to the very belief that is stuck and just appeasing them and taking their money. But really what I want to do is invite them to be able to unlock it for themselves, because then you have lasting change and nothing can ever completely stick to them and hold them in victim ever again. If something has happened, how does one alter that for oneself? What can be done by that person to bring empowerment or consciousness around whatever belief it is? And for me, that is real expansion, real change, real space holding, coaching. Have you seen this? Have you considered this? What about that? If I just did it all for you, is it really serving? And part of the belief system is, yes, I could, but is that really effective? Is that really serving? What is going to be the most effective for you and your journey and your consciousness? Is that too easy if I just give you the placebo argument and say, yes, it's all done? Because you've created that in your reality. Yes, it exists. Therefore, I can do it, undo it, tell you it's done. It is done. But what serves? And I love these questions and this dynamic. And especially when it comes to kind of healers and coaches, because from my consciousness, nobody should be put on a pedestal. And it's challenging in our consciousness. How do you do that / not do that? Because when you're getting help from somebody, when someone's your mentor, you can't help but adore them and see them in this wonderful, perfect light, because it serves to see them as something glorious. Because you want to, it inspires me to get myself to that point. And admiring someone and putting them on a pedestal inspires me to be a better version of me. Oh, I like that about them. I want to be that. I want to be that. I want to be that. But it is then when there's a admiration and then there is a clash. And fear comes in, and then you think, oh, but maybe they've done this or this or this or this, and then it completely flips on its head, and you have the empowerment and the victim. And it is, how do you work with these two dynamics to best serve the self? Because it can be helpful to put a healer on a pedestal or someone you admire, but then where does it become a disservice that has been done? Where there is pain points, where there is trigger, where there is fear. Things in your past that are a trigger for you. If then this person that you admire also triggers those things, you could have a really fear-closed reaction, and it's going to do you a big disservice. And the only way to understand all of that is to really hold space for this dynamic, these archetypes. How do you understand the victim and the empowerment in your own system, so that you can almost be in control and in integrity of how you show up to this, so that you haven't given away your power to anyone that you admire, but it is just using it to grow and expand. I use the admiration to grow and expand, but I don't completely give them my power so that they're able to control or manipulate me. Does that make sense? Because I think it's a real shame when too much power is given over to a coach or a healer or someone of admiration. Too much power is given. And then everything that they say is taken as gospel, put stakes in the ground to inform this container, make new beliefs based on what they say. And then those new beliefs, maybe something doesn't work out, and you then go, oh, actually, that was a really ineffective thing that they said. And I've taken everything that they said as complete gospel, as like the word of God. And then something happens that this isn't effective. That didn't work out for me. And then the world again is completely eradicated. all of the stakes that you put in based on what they said have now been trashed. And it's too much fear because, again, like a psychedelic experience, the whole container is then taken down. Rather than one's consciousness carefully looking, okay, they've said this. Let me try it on for myself in my own power and sovereignty. Does it work for me? Not that what they've said is complete gospel. I'm going to try this on for myself. How does it feel? How does it sit? How does this work in my life and in my consciousness? Is this an effective way of being? Yes. Okay, maybe I continue doing it. Is this effective for me? No. Okay, let's not use that one. But 80% of what they've given me is great. But this 20% doesn't fit in my system, in my life. I'm going to leave that. And then that is working together with a coach or a healer for your own empowerment, rather than giving them all of your power, taking everything that they've said as gospel. And then when something doesn't work, that 20%, maybe it's 1%. Maybe it was 50%. But it can be taken carefully, tried on with expanded consciousness, rather than I'm going to take everything as gospel, lock it all into place, and then when something happens that doesn't serve, it's then their fault. They've done it to me. Everything is eradicated, and then you're boxed into your victim riddled with fear. And I love this subject. Find it really, really juicy, really alive. I love questioning. I love consciousness expansion. I love philosophy topics. I'm about to sneeze. Woo! Ah, my goodness. So if you do have any comments, any examples, any comments, please do put them. Put your comments, and I will read them. And I just love seeing how other people see this, and figuring out together. I find it really juicy and really alive. So yes, please do comment or email. I'd love to hear from you. Upi chai.